Joining the show now, he is the executive director of the College Football Playoff. He's Rich Clark with us here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Rich, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too, Jake. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Well, so you're relatively new to the role, right? Took over in
2 years. Yeah, I'm going into my third year now, but I still feel new because it's always changing, always evolving.
I talked to you at Mountain West Media Days last year,
yes.
And my co-host and I were like, what's it going to be like when you go to 16? And you're like, hey, let's maybe pump the brakes now. You're here in 24, but boy, depending on the day, there's something new coming out with, it's going this, nope, we're going here. What's it like from your perspective?
It is interesting and exciting and ever-changing, but what I'll say is I feel like people have really latched on to the 12-team format, and they liked it, and they want more access. They want to see more of it, and there's a lot of goodness to it. I think the key is finding the right number, right? Is it 16? Is it 24? Or do we stay at 12? And that's the journey we're on right now, working with the commissioners. And I still love it, though, even with some of these changes in the air and the possibilities. It's just been a dream job for me, and college football is, I think, at a peak. It's just so great right now, and it's an honor to be a part of it. And having the CFP as the cap off to a great regular season is just awesome.
There's an old baseball adage, and it's a joke, right? It's satire. If you want to get rid of the close plays at first, just move the bag back a yard.
Right.
So obviously you're just going to have the same amount. I'm wondering, as this thing develops, the Notre Dame not wanting to play and all on BYU figuring, I'm sure you heard from your Mark, they think they're going to be, they should have been in, blah, blah, blah. Do you get to the point where, all right, we're at 12 and, boy, fever pitch, I watch all the games. If you move it to 16, you let 4 teams in, well, then you just got a new set of problems. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. There's always going to be someone that's not happy, someone that feels like they should have gotten in isn't going to get in. So if it's 16, if it's a 16-team playoff, 17, 18, and 19 probably legitimately had a good shot of being in there, but we had to draw the line somewhere. If it's 24, that's going to be 25, 26, and 27. So I think you're never going to get to the point where you expand to where everybody's happy, but I think you have to find sort of that happy medium of how do we open the access up? Because last year we had 6 teams in the playoff that hadn't been in it before. We had 3 teams in the semifinals that hadn't been in a semifinal before. We like that. We like bringing new teams in. But you have to draw the line somewhere. And, the line's drawn at student health and safety. The line's drawn at how much time do we have to put games on TV? How much do we infringe upon the academic calendar? There's so many different things that matter and that we have to take into account. So we have to consider all those things. But you're right. There's always going to be someone that's not going to be happy. But that's part of the game.
Talking about everybody's opinion on how many teams get in, does your television partner have an opinion, and how much does that matter?
They absolutely do. They have an opinion on it, and we work with them. And there's some contractual things that we would have to abide by if we expand. But there is the mechanism in there for us to expand given our contract with ESPN. So it's something that we can do. We just have to work with them within the contractual bounds of it.
All right, so this question is going to sound a little bit more aggressive than it's intended to be, but who do you work for? Is it the commissioners? Is it like who do you ultimately answer to as the director of the College Football Playoff?
I answer to what we call the management committee, which is the 10 FBS Football Bowl subdivision commissioners and the athletic director of Notre Dame. So those 11 people form the management committee, and they are my direct bosses. And then above them is a strategic group called the Board of Managers. That's one president from each of those conferences, one university president from each of those conferences, and the president of the University of Notre Dame. They're the strategic board, more broad guidance, budgetary guidance, things like that. But the management committee is like day-to-day operations. How do we run the selection committee? What do the playoffs look like? What does the format look like? those are the things that the management committee does. So they're my bosses.
So if the expansion issue isn't a Rich Clark decision, it's a management and that next level group.
Thank goodness it is not a Rich Clark decision. It's really the management committee's decision. They have it. Format falls within their realm of responsibility, so it doesn't have to go to the board of managers, that higher group. It stays with the commissioners and the AD from Notre Dame.
Yeah, you'd have to live undercover if that were the case.
I know. I'd have to move every week.
Protest outside your house. You know, we hear talk of, and it's I want to ask you as far as what level of concern, interest, facts, whatever it might be, that the Big 10 and SEC want to get together, and we heard Kirby Smart say, I wouldn't be opposed if we just broke off. How much of that is just talk?
Well, I don't know. I can't say, from their perspective, how much is talk and how much is real desire or intent to pursue something. So far, that hasn't come to my level, to our level, that's in the works. But it's hard for me to know how much of that is actual.
The point I'm thinking is it seems like they might have dissatisfaction with your organization because they didn't get a ninth team in or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone has some level of dissatisfaction with us because everyone didn't get a team in that probably they felt should have. And, I'll be honest, in a lot of cases they have a legitimate gripe because we're talking narrow margins between teams that get in and teams that don't. Right. And if you're on a team that didn't get in, you're going to have some dissatisfaction with us. And every conference has somebody that thought they should have had a legitimate shot or a better shot.
When they see you calling them, do they just say, "Oh man"?
Sort of, but that's what I work for.
You seem to be a very nice guy.
Yeah, I take their calls and I listen to them. I've had to go to the conferences and talk about our selection process, talk about the data that we use, talk about the discussions
after
in the room.
After the fact,
and sit down in front of those coaches and have them torch me at the end of the table.
That's combat pay.
It's what you are not kidding. I've been in combat too, and that was put me back in an airplane any day.
Yeah, I was going to say, like being in Air Force and deployed, or being in front of a bunch of college coaches.
Put me back in an airplane, but no, it is good, and it helps us too, right? Because we get to hear, and to be very honest, sometimes they have some good points. A lot of times they're bringing up good points that we need to consider about our process. And you can't take everything because what's good for one may not be good for everyone. We have to decipher and sort of figure out what really is what really are the right changes that we need to make to our process. But we listen, and it's helpful to us, and hopefully we educate them a little bit. But again, they're usually a handful that are very unhappy and just want to know why. Why didn't we get in? Why didn't we make it? You're not looking at the right things. My team was better, and you should have seen this. And it's like, okay.
So do you tell your selection committee, we need to find the 12, or let's just say 12 right now, the 12 teams outside, the automatics get in, obviously, but we want the 12 best teams right now, or the 12 teams that have built the best body of work? Like, what's the ultimate message to your selection committee?
Good question. So the ultimate message is rank the 25 best teams, not the most deserving teams, not the teams that have the best brand. Rank the 25 best teams based on their body of work.
Oh, based on their
body of work for the entire season. Now, that's a bit nuanced because ultimately you're looking at their body of work, but you're putting them in the playoff now, and so that there's a nuance there. I think you're not discounting what they had done before, but if a team, let's just say, they started out really strong and they just kind of fell off the cliff, that matters. Or if they started out slow and they're having some momentum and they're on the rise, that matters too. So we look at all of that and we see what their progression has been, what everything in their season, what they have done, what has happened, and we take all of that into account. But it's a hard job. I mean, the selection committee members they're all experts. I mean, they're former coaches, former athletic directors, current athletic directors, journalists, former players. We bring them together, and they do their due diligence. They watch a lot of film. They look at a lot of data. They have a lot of discussions, which are really amazing, fascinating discussions that they have. And they come up with, I think, a very good product in that top 25. But it's not an easy job.
Do you adjust from year to year, or do you worry about being overreactionary?
Well, yeah, that's interesting because every year we look at things within the committee that we might want to change, whether it's procedural or whether we want to adjust our data, because football evolves and the things that you look at, sometimes there's other things that you might want to look at, or that correlative statistics that equate to a winning team. But we try not to knee-jerk, right? We try not to just make changes for the sake of change. We really want to be deliberate about it. We have data analytics experts that help us decipher that to see what's what kind of changes do we need to make, but they're very subtle. We don't make really sweeping changes to our data year over year. I think if you were to look at it 10 years ago, though, it's probably different than it was back then, because the game changes and there's other things that matter probably more. But one thing that we do is we make all of the data available to those selection committee members. They have hundreds of pieces of information that they can look at, and we make that available to them. They all look at the game in a different way. Coaches look at it differently than athletic directors, who look at it more differently than players. But we make it all available to them, and we try not to prescribe, you have to look at this or you have to look at that. It's use your expertise, and then you bring it to the table for discussion. And when everybody is legitimate about their discussion and they're open and honest, that's when you really have the richness of the selection process.
What do you think is the timeline for 12 to 16 if it were to happen?
So we have to have a decision by December 1st for not this coming year, but for the next season. Yeah. And that would be the soonest that we could implement. It may take longer to implement, if we made a change, but the earliest we could implement for a December 1st decision would be the following year. So that's kind of driving the deadline of a decision. And if we don't make it by December 1st, then we kick to next year and we re-engage. And
so no decision is basically 12 teams.
That's right. Which is sort of a decision in and of itself.
Yeah, right.
They're like, we're going to stay at 12.
Right.
We're not ready to move yet. Haven't settled all the questions we have, so we're going to stick at 12, and we'll readdress it later.
Well, you don't have to say this publicly, but just tell us. What do you think?
So
it's just the four of us.
All right, don't tell anybody. We're
going 32. Yeah.
Yeah, if only I knew. But they're 12, 16, 24 are legitimately on the table, and we just don't know. We don't know yet, but we're digging deep. Every time we meet with the commissioners, with the management committee, we answer a bunch of questions, we bring in some of our own data, we talk, we look, we discuss, and then there's 10 more questions, and we bring that.
Right.
And they are very deliberate. I mean, these are professionals, and they're not going to rush into a bad answer or a bad situation.
I just wonder if we have like Democrats and Republicans. Well, the Big Ten says this. Well, then the SEC is going to say that, and then they just go back and forth. Man, I'm wondering if there can be some type of consensus. We're never going to agree with you, and then we have that in the world today.
Right. Well, I think first the good thing is, and you kind of brought it up. If we don't have a decision, we're in a good place. We stick with 12. However, I do believe most of the commissioners and the Notre Dame AD are in favor of expansion. It's just a matter of how much. I think most of them are in favor of it.
Right.
But we'll see, And if they can't, the bottom line is they can't agree to how much, then we stay where we are. And that's kind of how it's going to go. But I think that they will come to an answer. I really do. I think that they want to expand enough that they're going to work to it and figure it out.
How do you weight opinions from maybe Greg Sankey to Gloria Nevarez. You don't want to weight one more than the other, but one's got a little bit more, power behind it than the other. Just being honest.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And by our protocol and our operating procedures, there has to be meaningful discussion with all of the commissioners. That has to happen, and they do that. If there's a change, the Big Ten and the SEC have to agree to that. They have to agree to whatever change we have. So ultimately, you do have some commissioners that have a heavier weight in the decision process, but all commissioners have to contribute, and all commissioners' opinions matter, and they all have to bring that to the table. But the two commissioners from Big Ten and SEC have to agree on whatever the decision is.
Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Rich.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate
absolutely.
you. That is Rich Clark, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff.